Belaboring the point in City Council, Jacksonville lawmakers eventually move ahead a proposal to raise property taxes. Voters will get to decide if schools get more money.
It is a ministerial function. It's not my place to supplant my judgment or the judgment of the duly elected members of the Duval County School Board.
This is the second time we've been put in this position in 2 years. Something's got to give. We can't be told that we have to vote a certain way.
Government law attorney Chris Hand is with us to explain the legalities of the process. Plus, how will the skyline change in downtown? An important development regarding development on This Week in Jacksonville.
Glad you're with us today. Welcome to the month of May here in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. It's a midterm election year, so campaigning is going to heat up pretty soon. Already hot in Jacksonville is the topic of a potential tax increase. Joining us right now for our monthly segment is Chris Hand. Chris has experience in local government as the chief of staff of the city of Jacksonville for Mayor Alvin Brown. Also worked at that state and federal level for Senator Graham back in the day. So let's start here. There was about 90 minutes of debate this past Tuesday night at City Council, all about what the council president described as a no-brainer. This was about a school property tax increase benefiting Duval County schools. Help us understand, what did you see there?
Well, Kent, just to kind of give the background on the issue, under state law, school districts like the Duval County Public Schools have the right to go to voters and ask for a millage increase to pay for school operations. Duval County School Board voted to make that request to voters to help address the massive teacher shortage that we're having in this county and frankly is a crisis all around the state right now, and also to invest in arts education and athletics. Well, the way the process works under state law, the school board makes a decision to make this request to voters, and then our city council, as the governing body for the entire county, simply places it on the ballot, that issue on the ballot, and then in August, voters will decide. Well, that issue came before City Council for that simple act of placing it on the ballot, and quite a bit of debate ensued before Council actually took that action.
The debate wasn't about are we supposed to put it on the ballot? It's about the issue beyond. On the ballot, what does this do? How will taxes, can we afford a tax increase? That's really, is that the place? Is that not the place? I mean, these city council members, obviously when they voted, and five, we'll show you in a little bit who voted against it, but they voted against it. Was that to get on the record, I don't want this tax increase?
That was certainly my sense, Kent, that there were a few council people who wanted to avoid even the perception that they were voting to support a tax increase. So that was why some of the debate ensued and why 5 members ultimately voted against it. There were some council members, in this case 14 of them, who got the distinction. And one in particular, for example, City Council member Leanna Cumber, was very clear. She said, I'm not a supporter of this tax, but I also recognize that under the law, I have an obligation to put this proposition on the ballot so the voters can actually decide. And that's what 14 of the council members did. There are some who support this initiative, others who don't, but 14 understood, as their attorney told them that evening, this is what state law mandates, this is what you have to do. And so now voters on August the 23rd during the primary will decide if the school board will have some additional revenue to address the teacher shortage and invest in school operations.
So just briefly, let's bring up the list of the council members who voted against it. It was Aaron Bowman, Rory Diamond, Al Ferraro, Randy White, and Nick Howland. Councilman Bowman, you heard him say in our opening a moment ago, he said, this is the second time we've been in this position in 2 years. Something's got to give. We can't be told that we have to vote a certain way. Not necessarily the case in this? How do you...
No, in fact, they can be told that because every council member, when they're elected, took an oath to uphold the law, including the Florida Constitution and the Florida statutes. And as the General Counsel, Jason Teal, very clearly told council members the other night, what state law said is that when a school board makes the decision to ask voters for support of additional revenue, it is the job of the city council simply to pass it and put it on the ballot. The language says they shall do that, as in they are required to do it. So this is a case where in fulfilling their oath to uphold the law, they have to uphold that Florida statute and simply put it on the ballot. Any council member who obviously takes issue with that is free to petition the legislature, their state senator, their state representative to express concern. But as of now, that is the law, and 14 council members voted to comply with the law.
So I want to stay local, but Chris, let's shift the topic a little bit. The Downtown Investment Authority in Jacksonville, they released a new 5-year strategic plan. And part of this announcement is to say the next 5 years really could be critical in the development of downtown Jacksonville. What's your view? Will this plan play a big role in development?
Well, it's a huge role, Kent, because it really is intended to be a blueprint for the future of downtown Jacksonville. And there's a lot of questions that are addressed in that plan. What sort of incentives does the Downtown Investment Authority want to offer to be able to attract businesses or residents downtown? What sort of quality of life opportunities do they want to focus on, whether that's parks or access to the St. Johns River or other opportunities like that? And otherwise, what is the plan to help kind of revitalize downtown? You and I talk a lot on this segment about the importance of citizen engagement, people using their effective citizenship skills to help move government in their direction. Well, for anyone interested in the future of downtown Jacksonville, this plan is a terrific opportunity to be an engaged citizen and make voices heard. The plan is now going before the Jacksonville City Council. They will debate it and ultimately vote on it in the month of May. So for anyone who hasn't already provided public input and would like to provide it now, these upcoming council members are a great opportunity to say, this is what I want downtown to look like over the next 5 years.
So let's show you just a little bit of what some of the strategic plan does. I pulled this out of the report. It's saying that it reflects growth in a maturing market downtown. The goals are on retail and the St. Johns River. There's revised and new incentives. Chris, you just spoke about that a moment ago. And then streamlined processing times to make it more efficient. That was the big pull I got from this report. Hey, we want to make development smoother and maybe in some ways even more transparent, right?
Well, I think that's always been a focus in Jacksonville, really for the last decade. For many years, and this is not my quote, but someone I used to collaborate with at the city would say, you know, Jacksonville was known as a place that was great to do business, but not if you want to do it fast. There's been a lot of work to streamline economic development collaboration at the city government side. DIA, you know, is focusing on even more efforts to try and streamline their efforts so that people don't have to wait forever if they want to explore an opportunity in downtown Jacksonville. But I think a key portion of this plan, Kenneth, one that's particularly amenable to public input, is what's our vision for downtown? I just got back from a trip to St. Petersburg and Tampa, where they've revitalized their Riverwalk and created a very vibrant downtown in Tampa, or their pier to kind of increase the appeal and opportunities to have activities in downtown St. Petersburg. So I think one key question here will be, what's our downtown vision for the next 5 years? And a great place for residents to say, here's what I think our vision ought to be.
Yeah. Certainly something that we continue to watch as we go through this process. Maybe the last topic for this segment, another bill moving through City Council concerns historical monuments. And then this past week, lots of public comment, no formal final action in City Council. Will this get to voters? Will they get to vote on what happens with monuments? Or where do we see this going? Part of the discussion in the past has been, hey, I don't know about the cost of removing or transporting, you know, these monuments.
Well, Kent, we just passed the NFL draft, and if the City Council were employing a draft strategy here, I would say they've probably gotten one that involves punting here, because that seems to be what's happening. Under our city charter, it is City Council that makes policy and fiscal decisions, both of which are involved in this debate over historical monuments. And so typically council would act on something like this. Obviously, we have a representative democracy where people vote to elect their representatives and have them make decisions. And so this is an unusual case where council's taking the kind of issue it would normally address and trying to move that along to the voters to decide. This has obviously created some disagreement between council and the mayor's office. Right. Just this past week, Mayor Curry tweeted and said, City Council, they were elected to make decisions. They should either vote yes and vote no and tell people where they stand. Council will debate and potentially act on this at its upcoming council meeting a week from this coming Tuesday. We'll find out then whether they decide to put this issue on the ballot or whether they decide to deal with it once and for all right now.
So that's some of our local issues. Chris is going to be with us, and stay nearby, because then we'll start talking about some state issues as well. In the meantime, up next, we hear from State Representative Sam Garrison, his thoughts following the special legislative session and the announcement that there will be another special session late this month. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You know, some people you just get a vibe from, they make you feel like, okay, I can trust them And that's the way I felt. They have your best interests at heart.
It's so musty in here.
Damp-Rid attracts and traps excess moisture, eliminating the source of musty odors.
This Checkers Bistro Buford is for Sean, because he's got some fancy moves. So Checkers served up our fanciest Buford stacked with 2 beef patties, Parmesan dusted onions, and Dijon mayo. Smooth moves, Sean. Now go get your Bistro Buford. You've earned it. Join Checkers Rewards for a free Big Buford or Mother Cruncher.
It's Chevy Truck Month, and it's time to add the perfect accessories to your new Chevy. Make it bolder. Make it work harder. Make it your own. Find new possibilities. Find new roads. Very well qualified buyers can get 0% financing on most Chevy pickup trucks. Plus, now during Truck Month, get a $1,000 accessory allowance toward the eligible purchase of a new Chevy truck with accessories. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Looking for wide open beaches and plenty of exciting ways to have fun? Daytona Beach is the place. So start planning your trip today at DaytonaBeach.com, and we'll see you at the finish line.
Sign up for the Donna Mother's Day 5K at BreastCancerMarathon.com.
Tracking last-minute birthday gifts? You're not alone. Tracking your kid's lost phone? You bet. Tracking your pizza? Yeah, that too. Tracking rain down to the minute so your family can still get outside? We do that every day. Chief Meteorologist John Gahn and The Weather Authority. Tracking when, where, and how weather will get in your way. Helping you get around it and keep your plans on track. The Weather Authority. Always watching, always tracking. Channel 4, the local station.
After an injury, you may be thinking, well, I'll just pass. But that pain can last for a lifetime, and a lifetime is a long time. Taking a piece of your health forever is a very big deal. Don't wait. Your time to bring a case is limited. All law firms are not the same.
When fire starts, seconds matter. Would you trust something you saw on social media to save your home? News 4 Jax tests the fire blanket. The good.
I feel much more comfortable getting closer.
Yeah. The bad.
It just broke the glass.
And this.
Throw it, it's better.
Blanket versus extinguisher. Which one local firefighters say you'll want in an emergency, and the clue on the label that can save you money and bring peace of mind. The Fire Safety Test, Monday starting at 5 on News 4 Jax. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Late in this month of May, Florida lawmakers will convene a special session. They just got done with a special session a couple weeks ago. I spoke with Fleming Island Republican Sam Garrison about what's happening in Tallahassee and why property insurance is the main topic in 3 weeks.
Yeah, so one of the things that we made a promise to the voters before when we left the regular session was that there were going to be some issues that we need to come back and fix. And top of that list is property insurance. And we're hearing from Floridians across the state, Pensacola, Key West, everywhere in between, and certainly here in Northeast Florida, about the rising cost of property insurance. And that's a priority for us, a priority for the governor. I mean, he made a promise to try to address it.
What has to be addressed there, I guess? And is this a systemic problem, an issue with how things go in Florida, or are there external factors?
Part of it is big picture problems everywhere in the country is facing, and part of it's unique to Florida. So certainly with the unprecedented inflation that we haven't seen since, the 1970s, the cost of doing everything is increasing. That includes the cost of when a tree falls through your roof, what it costs to make that repair. So premiums are going up because the cost of repairs are going up. We're hearing that a lot from insurance folks. And then in addition to that, Florida has its own unique factors with the prevalence of hurricane, flooding, things of that nature, wind damage. We're more at risk than, say, property owner in Iowa would be. And then the third kind of factor we're addressing here is what we're seeing is some abuse by some bad actors in the roof space. So we're trying to clamp down on all three of those things. Some things we can control, have a healthy property insurance marketplace where insurers want to come and compete for your business and my business, which ultimately results in lower premiums and higher quality.
There was a special session coming up here in May. You just completed a special legislative session, and that session was to handle congressional redistricting, and then all of a sudden included this Reedy Creek special district or what have you. Critics are saying, hey, why is Florida at war with Disney? How would you explain that to the viewers?
Yeah, Ken, I think, before 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you said, what is Reedy Creek Improvement District, there might have been 10 people in Florida who knew what you were talking about, who didn't work for it. But what Reedy Creek is a government entity that legitimately, it's a government entity that was established by the legislature in the 1960s to try to draw Walt Disney, literally Walt himself, to come to Florida and make Disney World. And it was what was needed at the time to take that company to come to Florida and do the infrastructure that was necessary to transform what was a swamp into basically what we now know as Disney World. What happened is over the years, those incredible powers, literally powers of a government, powers to eminent domain, the powers to, governor talks about it often, you can build a nuclear power plant and Florida can't say no to it. I mean, it's incredible powers. And as Florida has grown, as Orlando has turned into a thriving metropolis, the governing structure that was necessary to lure Disney here 60 years ago hasn't kept up with the times. So, but until the politics got involved in the last couple of days, if you had asked anybody on either side of the aisle, would we do this again? Is this right to give these sorts of powers to a multinational company? No one would do this again. But forever, Disney had been so powerful for so long that everyone was kind of afraid to take it on. And that's not Governor DeSantis' style. If he sees a problem, he's going to fix it. And if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And that's what we're dealing with here.
Disney has been very beneficial to the state of Florida and certainly becoming even more known for tourism. So is there a thought that Disney is a bad partner? Have they misused that power, or is this retaliation because the Disney folks corporately said we are opposed to the law that was passed recently concerning education and LGBTQ issues?
I think what you're seeing is when Disney's California executives got involved in a battle of words with the governor and the legislature, that's not what prompted this. What that caused people to kind of take a look at what we've known was out there for a long time, which is this crazy special status that Disney has within the state. And so what the governor said and what the governor had the courage to take on was something the legislature, at least in the House, we've been pushing for a long time, which is to make sure that the rules apply to everyone equally, small businesses that rely on them to thrive. But we also want to make sure we're not giving special treatment. And we want to make sure they're having to deal with the same rules that Universal and all the other folks in Orlando have to apply by. So ultimately, from our perspective, this is about making sure there's a level playing field for everybody to compete equally and not giving Disney, one of the largest multinational companies in the world, even more of a head start. It's almost like letting LeBron James play in a 7-foot rim. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to the other folks who are having to do their business down in Orlando.
That other issue with the legislative session, the special session in April, concerned congressional redistricting. Just briefly, are you in favor of that? Do you feel good about how those new lines were drawn? Because there's plenty of people on the other side of the aisle who say it was political and it gives Republicans an advantage.
Yeah, ultimately, we went through the process we went through to arrive at the maps we'd arrived at in the congressional cycle. On the House and Senate side, all of our maps, we used the same process, and they were adopted without any concerns. We heard a lot of criticism on the front end for the maps we initially put forward, and then now those maps that were criticized are what people want to bring back. So there's a lot of politics involved in posturing and redistricting. I think that's unfortunately kind of unavoidable. The governor's position as it relates to congressional redistricting is he wanted to have compact, race-neutral maps that would pass kind of the eye test. You look at them, they don't look like they're gerrymandered with the long snaking districts like we see in Illinois and New York and other places like that. Ultimately, that's something I think is beneficial. So as far as Clay County goes, we're kept intact and a part of whatever process we have. We certainly are now, and we're excited to get ready for campaign season.
All right, stay with us. More of our conversation and special segment, Hand on Government, when we come back on This Week in Jacksonville.
Our AC is out.
Duty calls, kids. If your AC is running but not cooling, making loud noises, or your home's too humid, now you can schedule an appointment online at SnyderAC.com.
You're my hero, Snyder Man.
Wildfires have reached historic levels. As fires keep raging, the need to replant trees keeps growing. So Subaru is growing our commitment to protect the environment. In partnership with the National Forest Foundation, Subaru and our retailers are proud to help replant 1 million trees to help restore our forests. Subaru, more than a car company.
What we want to be able to provide is the ability for our clients to focus on getting better and to allow us to take care of the rest. As a mom, as someone who has both successes and losses in life, and in representing clients for nearly 20 years, I've learned a great deal from my clients. And it's all given me the compassion, the experience, and the confidence that I know I'm advising my clients for them to be able to make the best decisions for themselves.
My family and I wanted a fresh start, but we didn't want the hassle of selling our home.
With the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can close in as little as 21 days. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer today.
In hot pursuit of a moving van, the epidemic of thefts targeting families moving into new homes.
Everything that we had worked hard for was just gone.
Next, Inside Edition.
Monday at 7:30 on Channel 4, the local station.
When you step into a new day, determined, committed, willing to take on whatever's asked of you, that new day is yours to own, yours to shape, and yours to be proud of. Ram, J.D. Power's #1 brand in new vehicle quality.
Right now, during Ram Truck Month, with 0% financing for 72 months, get an average $13,025 in finance savings on the 2022 Ram 1500.
Each week, Channel 4 recognizes the Snyder All-Star Athlete of the Week. If you'd like to nominate a high school athlete who excels in the classroom and in the community, go to news4jax.com and look for All-Star Athlete under the Sports tab. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
And as you heard in that conversation with State Representative Sam Garrison, in the special session in Florida just a few weeks ago, the legislature voted to strip Disney of its special status as a self-governing area. The bill already signed by the governor will end the Reedy Creek Improvement District, meaning Disney will no longer be able to operate as a self-contained government. That takes effect June 1st, 2023. The House passed the measure in a 68-38 mostly party line vote after the Senate gave its approval the day before. The 55-year-old arrangement allowed Disney to regulate land, enforce building codes, maintain its roads, and treat wastewater. Company managers said they needed autonomy to plan a futuristic city along with the theme park when they initially did that agreement in the 60s. The city never materialized, and Disney built Epcot instead. Governor DeSantis' battle against Disney here began, Chris Hand, when the company publicly opposed the Parental Rights in Education bill. So lots of concern regarding the potential increase that could happen for taxpayers down there. But let's start there. Why do you think this came up after 55 years?
Well, Ken, it's not very hard to connect the dots. There had been, in the nearly 55 years since the legislature actually created the Reedy Creek Improvement District, there had been exactly zero efforts to end it or abolish it or significantly change it. Suddenly that changed when Disney very publicly announced its opposition and concern about the Don't Say Gay bill that the legislature passed. Then all of a sudden the legislature comes back in special session. Initially that was going to be just to deal with congressional redistricting. Then they added this issue about special districts, including the Reedy Creek Improvement District, to the special session call. So it's not too hard to connect the dots on why all of a sudden, after 55 years, there was some legislative interest in that issue.
The governor and then state rep we just heard from said, no, this is just to make sure it's a level playing field. It's unfair for Disney to have an advantage over Universal or, other theme parks or that kind of thing. Does that hold water with you?
Well, no, because it's been interesting this week. There have been a variety of kind of experts in Central Florida who have looked at this, including Scott Randolph, who's the Orange County tax collector, Jacob Schumer, who's a municipal law attorney down there, and who've said Disney might actually pay less in taxes now that the Reedy Creek Improvement District, if it is indeed abolished on June 1, 2023, as the legislation currently holds. What it could do is disadvantage Orange and Osceola County taxpayers. If the district is actually abolished, estimates indicate that local property taxpayers will pay anywhere from $250 a year more, maybe up to as much as $2,000 a year more, because those counties will have to absorb the services and somebody will have to pay the debt. There's a provision in state law, Kent, that says that a district like this can't be abolished until the debt has been paid for and satisfied. Disney has almost $1 billion in bonds.
There's some debt there. Right.
It is. Well, and it's not just sort of a function of state law. The state of Florida and the Reedy Creek Improvement District have made promises to bondholders, the people who have loaned them that money, that the district will not be abolished while that funding is outstanding. And so not only might you have kind of a problem with state statutes, but you might have lawsuits from bondholders saying, hang on a second, you promised us that this district would not go away while our bonds were still outstanding. And Kent, there's even other fiscal impacts. The rating agencies, the ones that decide whether municipal and state agencies, how good their credit is and how much they have to pay for borrowing, have already taken their first steps toward potentially downgrading the bonds of the Reedy Creek Improvement District. And there's been speculation this week that it might actually have impacts for all Florida local governments because of concerns about how state government is acting as it relates to local government. So this could have very wide impacts that go far beyond the 25,000 acres of the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
Well, in terms of these improvement districts, we know it also affects Bradford County. There's an area there that's going to be affected by this as well. It's not just that one thing at Disney. And for the record, this past week, we did hear from Governor DeSantis. He was asked about taxing. He said, not for a minute believe that Disney won't pay taxes. We will make sure they do. But this certainly seems like something, Chris, that will continue to follow. I know it takes place in another year, but certainly maybe even some litigation before then. Appreciate getting to visit with you. Again, state issues, we talked local issues, and that's what we do once a month, Hand on Government, when we get Chris to come join us. Thanks.
Thank you, Cap.
All right. U.S. Representative Val Demings plans to join us next week. The Jacksonville native offering her view on what's happening in the nation. In Florida, we'll talk about what's going on in Ukraine as well. City Councilman Rory Diamond joins us, too, with an update on his political future. And this week in Jacksonville, we air each Sunday morning at this time. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4. You can see us on the CW 17 at noon on Sundays. And you can find us online at newsforjax.com and streaming on News4Jax Plus.
See why every day more people are choosing News4Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.